Neptune. Neptune, where are you? I don't know.
Okay, I can't find Neptune. Welcome back to Astrology Victoria. Today, under the Astro blanket, as usual,
with Dulcie and
Tatiana. And what are we discussing, Dulcie?
Today we are discussing the new moon happening in Libra, and that will be on Wednesday, October 6th. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Let's jump right in.
So actually, before we get into everything, I just wanted to talk a little bit about a couple of people in our community and things that they have going on. So we are Astrology Victoria, and so our main goal is to collaborate with other people in Victoria and
the world.
And the world. Now that COVID has happened, we have expanded our doors and everybody is welcome. Everything is online now. So we want to be aware of events that are happening, or if people are starting their own astrology businesses or they're doing their own workshops and things like that. We want to be able to share that with other people and let other people know what's happening. So first is Ren Butler. So Ren Butler lives in Victoria, and he's one of our mentors and teachers. Both Tatiana and I have taken a course with him last year and loved it.
And he's the author of this phenomenal book, The Archetypal Universe. So that should be in every astrologer's shelf.
Yes. It has combinations, planetary combinations. So if you're looking at your chart and you see like a Mars-Venus aspect and you're not quite sure what that could mean, you can take a look at the book, and it will give you a wide variety of significations. And it combines more than one planet as well. So you could combine 3 planets together and see what that could look like. So Ren is starting his course again, but it's a little bit different. So he has included the recordings that he did last year of the slideshows. So he goes into planetary combinations and explains them in great detail, looking at figures, people in the world and events in the world that manifest that kind of archetypal, what's the word? Archetypal expression. And so in this next course coming up, he's included those links so you can watch the slideshows on your own time. And in class, we are going to be looking at charts. So it'll be a very interactive class, taking a look at different people's charts, celebrities, people in the class, taking a look at charts of events. So yeah, I'm super excited. I'm taking part this year again. And
yeah, this did the first year, like the first full course, and we're participating again, and as like a guest, like people that
yeah,
again in the group. And this is amazing, and I totally recommend the course. It's super fun. The groups from people from all over the world, and we get really great connections, and the material is really archetypal. Astrology is really rich in all the significance of the psyche. So it's a pretty deep, intense, awesome course that we absolutely recommend you sign up.
Yeah, and Ren is incredibly knowledgeable and just like a wonderful human being. So I'll include his website. Yeah, I can't read out the website because it's very long, so I'll include that in the description of this episode. And yeah, and another individual is our friend Spencer Michaud, who we've had a few times as a guest on our channel, and he lives in Ypsilanti, Michigan. And he is doing webinars each month to take a deep dive into the decans, the 3 decans of each sign. So I took part in his first one, the decans of Virgo, and it was very in-depth. He talks about like the fixed stars that are there, and the what's the word for spirit in astrology? Oh, Spencer's gonna be kicking my butt right now. Anyways,
Retrograde.
yeah, it really is. But taking a deep dive into each 10-degree of each sign. And so it's kind of a progression. It's the beginning of the sign, the middle, and then the end, some sort of resolution or conclusion. And it really helped me get a thorough understanding of the sign of Virgo. It's not just your regular like earth sign, like perfectionist, these kinds of things. It's a deep understanding of it. So the next one is about Libra, which we're going to be talking about today. And it's on October 9th at 1 p.m. Eastern.
We definitely recommend for those who really want to get deep into astrology to take these webinars, because it gives you so much more understanding. And Spencer is really thorough and excellent teacher and very good in his teaching. So it's very awesome to have more understanding, because if you're going, especially if you're going to practice astrology, that is really amazing. And if you're just like curious about astrology, it gives you a better understanding of the archetypes, which, by the way, if you had not watched our series on the signs, we have done a whole series with beginners on each sign, and we have kind of gone a little bit thoroughly through the archetypal feel of each sign. So please feel free to watch our series. And with no further ado, Dulcie, do you have any other?
Yeah. Also, I just wanted to add that he each decan is associated with a tarot card. So if you're interested in tarot as well, it's a good combination of astrology and tarot. Anyways, yes. So let's get into.
Are interested in tarot.
What's that?
Most astrologers have like an interest in tarot. Yeah. The occult arts. Anyway, Dulcie.
Yeah. Okay. So let's take a look at our presentation here. There we go. Okay. Here's our new moon in Libra on Wednesday, October 6th, 2021. Okay. So first, we just wanted to discuss the houses of your chart. So I won't go into too much detail, like what houses are and everything, but
for that too, check out our video on the birth chart.
Yeah, that's true. We go over kind of the main elements of a birth chart. So essentially your ascendant, wherever your ascendant falls, your ascendant degree falls, that's your, in Hellenistic astrology, that's your entire first house. In other like more modern forms of astrology, it could be 2 houses in, or 2 signs in 1 house.
3 signs, that's
right.
So, but let's keep it simple and
yeah, we'll take a look at where the Libra new moon is happening and what house that is in your chart. So the new moon is happening at 13 degrees. Let's see.
Yes, it's happening at 13 degrees of
Libra. 13 degrees of Libra. Yeah, so take a look at where that is in your chart. And if it's in your first house, it has more to do with your identity, your self-expression, your physical appearance. If it's in your second house, it might have to relate to your money and finances, or things that you own and your sense of self-worth based on a lot of those things.
What you value. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and your third house has to do with kind of the short journeys that you take in your daily life, on your way to work, to the grocery store, things like that.
Communicate what your thought processes are, communications of all kinds, trades, exchanges.
Yeah. Yeah. And then your fourth house has to do with your family, your home, your property, your roots, where you come from. Your fifth house is your sense of creativity and things that you're passionate about and things that you want to bring into form into this world.
Basically, self-expression is linked to the sun, it's linked to the heart, it's linked to fun and self-expression. That's why we have creativity, and that's why children, because people create children.
Exactly. Sixth house can be about your physical health, like small pets are included in there, and also difficult tasks that need to get done, things that menial or challenging or not fun tasks that you have to do in your life, potentially, which are involved in your work as well. That can be involved in the sixth house.
House being the house of Virgo, it rules over everything that is the daily maintenance of things. This is why it's the tasks, the menials, and pets fall in under there too. And because you take care of pets, it's a daily chore. So everything is like what you take care of to make things work in the that's the sixth house.
Yeah. And the seventh house is often described as the house of your spouse, your partner, your romantic partner, but it doesn't just have to be your romantic partner. It can be a partner at work. It can be a partner, of astrology, like Tatiana is for me, and just other people in general, people that you interact with.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. And then the eighth house. So here it's written death, and that can, death does fall in that, but death doesn't always mean like death as, the ending of a human. It can be other endings. So just endings in general, endings of relationships, endings of, periods in your life, endings of, a job, things like that.
Any theme having to do with shared resources or anything that is we're attached to and that is shared with other people. So anything having to do with intimacy and deep bonding is also part of the eighth house. And then also the shadow parts of ourselves. So all the psychological issues that are hidden behind the surface. The surface are all eighth house themes. So good luck for you in this new moon if you have it in the eighth house.
Okay, and then the ninth house is related to higher learning, broadening your horizons. That's why foreign travel is in this house. Just anything that involves, opening your eyes to the world beyond you. Yeah.
This is why we talk about religion or philosophy, because we're seeking higher truth or connection to natural law or natural truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then we have the 10th house, which is related to your career, but not just your career, but things that you do in the world. So things that you're known for in the world. Yeah.
Your vocation, what you feel you're called to be in the world. So it's not just your job. It's
Yeah, for sure. Okay, and then the 11th house has to do with friends and groups that you're in. Usually I would think groups by choice. I think third house is more like groups by association, like your neighbors and your community, whereas your 11th house is groups that you're a part of because you choose to be. Do you think that's the case, Tatiana?
Yeah, well, it's the human family. So it's the associations we make with others that we're passionate about bringing forth for like different causes,
Yeah.
that we want to work together with other people.
Yeah. And also allies, or those who support you. So if you're having, Jupiter in the 11th house transit, you might have a lot of support from other people in your goals. 12th house, finally, the fun house. So that can involve things like alone time, taking time for yourself, and spiritual growth. through spending time alone or spending time in nature or kind of disengaging from the hustle and bustle of everyday life.
Because the 12th house is the house of the unconscious of the unconscious. Basically is even deeper than the 8th house, is even those things that we don't know where they come from, is the other side, is the realms that at a human level we cannot really comprehend. That's the 12th house. So the very uncomprehended 12th house. So yeah, with this completed little brief explanation, find where your 30 degrees of Libra is, because of that house, with what we just have described, especially if you're new to astrology and you want to understand, this is where this new moon is going to be important for you, because this is where you plant the seeds for themes that will grow throughout the whole month, that we will see through fruition. And when you do it consciously and with intention, and you know in what area of your life this is going to happen, you can focus your energy there and process consciously and make choices consciously. So this is why we present to you this house chart. And you can go back to our video on the houses if you want more thorough detail on them. So Dulcie, let's go into the next slide, unless you have something else to say about this.
Daimon is the word for spirit. So Spencer discusses the daimon that are involved.
Learning astrology is good to know all these. That's why we're here in Astrology Victoria, also to share what we know and share with the community. Astrology open for everybody.
All right, taking a look at the new moon in Libra. So Wednesday, October 6th, 2021. So for us in Pacific time, it's happening super early, but even Eastern time, it's still early in the morning. So the beginning of your day is going to start with this new moon in Libra. Did you want to say anything just before we get into each aspect here?
Well, basically, because there is a very heavy Libra energy in the air, there's still going to, there's a lot of themes having to do with relationships, agreements, contracts, review of previous agreements, because Mercury is retrograde, and that's going to be something we'll mention. And if you did not see our video on the forecast of the month ahead that we did with Spencer, it's very thorough, but here we're going to really study the new moon, so you can really sink that in for your new moon rituals and intention setting. So yes, this new moon will set a month of how have we been going about our agreements, what we can still move forward with, or not necessarily right now move forward with, but review is air, a lot of air. There's very little earth right now. So now everything has moved more towards the elements of air. We have some water as well, predominantly. And so it's a lot of mental redistributing or rethinking, so we can then project a new reality that will come into fruition. So this is the time for reviewing, rethinking, replanning, remaking these agreements, coming into all sorts of agreements. And Libra, because it's a sign of that wants everybody to have its fair share, it's not necessarily that everything is balanced. It's the opposite. It's the constant strive for balance. So the only way to balance is when there is imbalance. So this is what we're going to be dealing with. And what was I going to say? So if you have not watched our Libra video, look at that one too, very thorough. Okay, Dulcie, let's go in.
Yeah, so I'll just do a quick overview of the aspects that we have here, and then maybe we can discuss briefly what Libra signifies before we go into the Sun-Moon conjunction. So the first aspect I have here is the Sun-Moon conjunction, which is a new moon at 13 degrees Libra. They're also right next to Mars. So Mars is also at 13 degrees of Libra. So Mars is going to be a big factor in this new moon. The next is that the new moon is in the same sign as Mercury retrograde. It's co-present with Mercury retrograde. So they're not super close together, but they are being impacted by Mercury retrograde. The new moon is opposing Chiron in Aries. So the Chiron is at 10 degrees Aries. And then Mercury retrograde is at 20 degrees Libra, and it is trine Jupiter retrograde, which is 22 degrees Aquarius. So let's maybe start a little bit of a talk about Libra and then talk about the new moon.
Yeah, so, well, Libra is the sign, like I said, where we try to find balance. It's the sign of me and the other and negotiating. So in Libra, and Libra rules Libra is the 7th house and is ruled by Venus, and all the Venusian themes, and Venus tries to bring grace, to things, grace, beauty, and harmony. Libra speaks of harmony, grace, it speaks of, it's like we said, anything that's refined, that is let's say politically correct, right? That's everything. Libra should be graceful. So that's more like the archetype. So again, watch the video for more in depth. So a lot of this energy will be in the air while we look for negotiations through this first half of the month. So Dulcie, what else do you want to say about Libra, so we can dive into what it means to have these planets in Libra?
Yeah, so here I have Libra being about balance and harmony, which we discussed a lot about in our October month ahead video. Harmonious relationships and pleasant interactions with others. I like how you talked about being politically correct, because avoiding divisive topics of any kind can be part of it. Just wanting to keep the peace. All about it's an air sign, so it's all about intellectual connections and interactions, seeing things from every angle, avoiding conflict, people pleasing, peace at any cost, and taking time to reach a fair decision. So we're not coming to that fair decision instantly. We're not immediately at that fair decision. We're going through the process of reaching that goal. So we have the new moon happening at 13 degrees of Libra, and it is conjunct Mars. Do you have any ideas about that connection there?
Absolutely. And I'm going to actually read from the archetypal universe, this triad particularly, to see what the best expression of this energy can be. But also, in a conjunction, it does not necessarily mean that the best expression is there. It depends on how we manage the energy. So I'm going to read in its best expression. We have passionate enthusiasm for life, a healthy inner and outer vitality, yang athletic swagger, high dynamic expression of feeling, energetic catharsis, heated sexual attraction, urges to work at home, dynamic creativity in one's household, the fulfillment of shared goals. So this is part of that very bright, positive expression. And in its negative expression, we have an in-your-face, cocky or obnoxious style, a competitive and contrary nature, a habit of disrespecting other people's boundaries, a need for more gentleness, family squabbles, sibling rivalry, antagonism between the parents, yang energy dominating yin, tendencies towards emotional and physical burnout, a need for regular downtime to rest and replenish one's feminine side. So these are ways in which the energy can express itself. And because Chiron is making that opposition, if you can show there's Dulcie where that opposition is occurring, Chiron opposition to that new moon, there will be themes revealing the deep wounds that we may have, especially if you have Chiron in Aries, and this is directly speaking to you. It will highlight, others will highlight your own wounds, on your own lack of maybe lack of desire for action or fear of acting out in the world for fear of not being accepted or seen, for just existing as who you are, you know. The Aries is the courage of just being in life, you know. It's the first house, it's me, my existence, the courage I have, you know, it's linked to Mars. So when we have that Chiron wound, the Chiron wound in Aries about the sheer existence of my being, even if it's worth being alive, and not even speaking up for oneself or acting on one's behalf, this opposition, whatever comes up in this new moon will reflect that to you. So it's not just, yes, let's do this passionately. It might bring up some pain for some people, especially if you have that Chiron in your chart around the 10th degree, or if you have anything in the fixed signs at that degree. Why? Because you will be having the square. So if it's sorry, not the fixed signs, the cardinal signs. So if you have Libra, Aries, Scorpio, or Cancer, this is going to be speaking to you, having to negotiate with those inner sense of not wanting to act in the world for yourself, or being afraid of being who you are in the world and taking action for yourself, and then letting others completely, you know, step all over you. And contrary, if you let others step all over you, maybe you actually do the opposite. Maybe it's you who step all over others, so you don't have to get hurt or seen. So you see, this is where we're trying to find that balance. So wherever you are at, and if this is speaking to you, this may bring up these themes. And because we have Mercury also involved in the Libra, and because it's retrograde, there might be a lot of themes of reflection around this area of life, of how we relate to others, what is mine and what is yours. So how do I get what I want without overstepping you? Or how do we all get our needs met and nobody gets hurt? So you see, this is like this very delicate negotiation platform. So yeah, this Chiron will definitely highlight those woundings. So yeah, anything to add to this, Dulcie?
Sure. So yes, I agree with you that Chiron playing a role in this might increase the impact on someone's sensitivities or insecurities and inner pain that maybe hasn't been worked through, or perhaps it has been worked through, but it's still getting triggered again. And with Mars playing a role in this, Mars can, like you mentioned with Ren's description, Mars can give someone the confidence and the drive and the motivation to speak up when they need to. So perhaps, you know, in the sign of Libra, we might not always have that confidence to speak up and say what needs to be said, because we want to keep that peace. But with Mars there, we might just feel inclined to do so. However, Mars is in its detriment. It's in Libra, in the sign of Libra, which is ruled by the planet Venus. So it's opposite where it is normally comfortable in its home of Aries. Also, it's home of Scorpio. And so it's uncomfortable, and it's not necessarily functioning the way that it wants to. It wants to be direct. It wants to charge forward. It wants to just slice things, and it's not able to do so as much as it would like. And it's being hosted by Venus, who is also uncomfortable in the sign of Scorpio. Venus wants to create relationships and love and harmony and beauty. And in Mars's house, she's also not able to do that as much. So by their mutual reception, so being in each other's houses, they are able to kind of give each other resources, but definitely not to the extent that they would normally be able to if they were in more comfortable situations. So, yeah,
Note, sorry, do you
no,
wanna?
go for it.
It really brings up this need for the yin yang balance, because again, there's a lot of this Libra mutual reception from Mars Venus. So it's almost tone down that Mars, and amp up that Venus in intensity. Whereas usually Venus is harmonious and peaceful and receptive. Mars just charges ahead. So we're having this toned down Mars, like Mars having to wear a tutu to war, or or do the pillow fight instead of with a sword, or fight with a sword made out of a balloon, those long balloons, it's toning down Mars, and then also amping up Venus. So Venus is being amped up in Scorpio, having to look at the more hidden parts of the Venusian energy, which is central, maybe even dark, that dungeon kind of feel where Venus looks at beauty, but in a little bit of a darker way. And if you think, I sometimes think of themes like burlesque, it's like, oh, that's not very socially acceptable. It's not Venus in Libra, which is like full of decorum. No, this is like exposing, the sensuality and this darker part. And usually it's not socially very accepted. So Venus is very uncomfortable having to be its own beautiful self in, a burlesque show. And Mars having to play with, a wooden sword. And this gives us the sense that, okay, it cannot all be yang or all be yin. It's more like, how do we come back to balance? Because when we have an extreme of like a Mars in Libra, which is go, Spartan warrior, I don't, step over the flowers, who cares? We're being called to really look at the other and at the other's needs. And Mars in Libra definitely tones itself down so it can be open to see the other and be willing to sacrifice, or not sacrifice, give up a part of itself also for the other, so that the other can also have their fair share, basically. This is what is being invited now in all of us, or the collective. And if you have those placements, this is being highlighted for you. So that's our Libra stellium new moon.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you see this playing out for either you in your personal life, or how do you see this being played out in the collective?
Well, just kind of finding that balance between striving for something, but also waiting and having that patience. Mars wants to strive and go forward, but it also has to be patient and wait for the process to kind of play itself out. Yeah, in my own life, I don't know. I haven't thought about it in my own life yet. For me, it's in my 7th house, so this will have to do with partners and relationships. And so if we take a look at our partnership, we're kind of in a give and take kind of balance. When one of us is getting a little bit worn out, the other one kind of takes over and is able to charge forward, and we take turns doing that.
Yeah, exactly. For me, it's very interesting because this is bang on my Pluto, my own personal Pluto in the 11th house. And lo and behold, this is the anecdote, and this is true. I'm in the middle of a collective project, of a community project. I'm part of a community. We're building a community. And guess what we're doing this whole time? Meetings and meetings and meetings, agreements, meetings, agreements, and there's a lot of tension, and has been a lot of like, we're trying to resolve what's best for everybody, and there's been a lot of back and forth, you know, and also budget and figuring out how we're going to do this, and that is all relationship for this community to work. And this is the 11th house, so it's like, oh my gosh, yes, this is like this preparation for this full moon, this new moon is coming already. It's coming already because we have all this is, you know, and where Pluto is in it, like my personal Pluto is involved. So it's like, oh, I can totally feel that this is actually coming already. You feel the energy already coming in, or the Libra energy is being very present. And as we're going to keep having these meetings until we resolve all that we need to do. So it's very interesting to see how it's starting to play out when the whole Libra stellium has been in my 11th house already for a while. And this is exactly what's going on. I'm like, oh, wow, okay. And what needs to happen is, for example, for my own personal self, I've noticed that I also am able to speak up more for myself and say also what I need. And I have also been able to make sure that those that are not being given, maybe for some reason being ignored, we can say, hey, no, don't ignore this person's need. And that's the Mars in Libra. I have a natal Mars in Libra as well. So I know how this feels. Like, you usually give up a lot of yourself so everybody gets their turn. And it's, honestly, I gotta say, because Dulcie, you have Mars in Aries, right?
Mm-hmm.
That way, I sometimes feel like, okay, whatever, I'll just, okay, you take it, you know, it's okay, you take the best piece for you, it's fine. So and sometimes it does feel like you sacrifice a lot for everybody, and yeah, you end up with, like, you know, the last piece of the cake, which was smaller than everybody else's. That tends to happen with that Mars placement. So it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing when it really is fair to everybody. So let's not forget that it's a balance. So if you're somebody who's really a lot of Aries, this might be challenging for you if you have a lot of Aries in your chart, because this will challenge you to look at the other, yes or yes, and not just look at yourself and do whatever you need without caring about everybody else's needs. This will challenge you. So if this is you, if you have something in Aries, sorry. Dulcie, have you been experiencing anything of the sort a little bit? Maybe in the opposite area of your chart, your first house?
Perhaps so. I've been going in waves of having that kind of energy to do things. So wherever Mars is placed, it's impacting my personal drive. In terms of, I don't know, finding it difficult to take others into account, maybe not so difficult, but yeah, I don't know. I'd have to ponder on that a little bit more.
Okay, well, now, okay, so if we have no more to say on that, how about we talk a little bit of this Mercury retrograde?
Yeah, definitely. Mercury retrograde is co-present in the same sign as this new moon. So it's at 20 degrees of Libra. So we are currently in Mercury retrograde. Have you noticed anything?
I do feel with Mercury retrogrades that for me, it really is more an internal sense. Nothing yet has manifested outside, like broken things or broken phones or things not working. Yes, we had some technological issues trying to have a Zoom meeting the other day that definitely just didn't go through. It kept cutting, it kept stopping. It was hard to even get it through, you know, and we're trying to do all this negotiation, right? So it's kind of interesting to see how that plays out. But in my personal experience, it's more that my mind and my processing goes back a lot into my own self and how I'm dealing with people, particularly relationships of all kinds, especially group relationships, like how how I'm dealing, and if I am getting what I need. And this has been really current for me. And this Mercury retrograde invites you to review anything or any agreements or ways to relate to others, even contracts or things that you have probably came across in the past like cycle of Mercury direct. So like basically the past 3 months, anything that's been going on with you and things that you've done. Now is the time for a review and say, okay, how are we dealing with relationships? How are we dealing with our agreements? How are we dealing with ourselves as well? Are we in balance with them? Because Libra is not only it's me and you, but it's essentially a projection of our internal sense of balance, right? So am I in balance, or am I completely out of balance with my dealings, with my money, with people, with how I deal with things? So this Mercury retrograde invites us to think about how we're dealing with people, dealing with maybe contracts, even if you're in like maybe a lawsuit, for instance, in the middle of a lawsuit, maybe this is a time to start kind of resolving that, especially having Jupiter in a trine with Mercury is a great mediator. This is the time to mediate. There is help, there is hope that there will be the fair share for everybody. So if you're in the middle of a lawsuit, this is the perfect time, because the energy is promoting that balance and that resolution and that hope. I, for example, have a friend that is in the middle of a very complicated lawsuit. I have a few actually friends that are in middles of complicated lawsuits, and for me it's like, wow, this is the perfect time for them to get it straight with their lawyers, with their with all the parties involved, because at this time there is a big chance to find good agreements and happy resolutions, especially with Jupiter. So this is the time to renegotiate basically everything and not let it pass. And more especially because we're going to have that square to Mercury Pluto. I mean, it's kind of close. It's a 4-degree orb, that square of Mercury Pluto. But we're going to have Mercury in the mix, at least, of this new moon. Even though it's not highlighting Mercury Pluto, it does have a little taint of having to bring out, it might have to bring out a lot of the darker, more obsessive or possessive thoughts we have, or desire to manipulate with our words, like have the like when you want to overpower somebody by using your words. So make sure that in your agreements and your dealings, you're not falling into manipulation to get what you want, because that's not going to produce a healthy outcome in the end. So bring everything to the surface, because Mercury Pluto also exposes what's rotting under the surface. It brings it out through speech. So make sure if there's anything festering, that is brought out in a healthy container, that it can be discussed. And then things will clear out and it will come up like everybody can get their fair share of the pie. This is what I'm trying to say with this new moon. So make sure you're not leaving, there's not that desire to still get your own way, because that will be, later on, that's going to be, nope, you can't get away with that. So this is the time to not do it, because there might be a temptation to like, oh, if I do this and I manipulate that like that, maybe I'll get this out of that. Yeah. Not the good idea. So this could be a temptation, let's say. No, put everything out in the open, and you'll see how the truth, the actual truth, and being honest and acting, talking and speaking, acting and thinking with integrity will make truth and harmony for everyone. That's just the message I keep getting from this new moon energy. Okay, marathon, Dulcie. Moving on, what would you like to talk about this Mercury retrograde?
Yeah, so I'll just take a quick look at the Mercury trine Jupiter aspect. So Jupiter has that expansive quality of making things bigger. So it is possible that it could, while this is, you know, within orb, you know, within 2 to 3 degrees of a trine, Jupiter may be increasing Mercury retrograde type scenarios. So it could increase some miscommunications or technological challenges, things like missed appointments and that kind of thing. But since Jupiter is also a helpful planet, he's trying to make things better. It could be just by, you know, the classic Mercury retrograde action is to kind of take that double look of your work and find all of those mistakes and to review everything and make sure that it's all good for the end. So perhaps there could be a mistake up front, but it gives you the chance to review it and make it better. And Jupiter could help in kind of seeing a silver lining in a challenge that you're having with somebody. Could help to lead your conversation toward a more positive outcome. Could allow for progress or growth within a relationship, increase enthusiasm, and increase one's understanding of another person. Yeah, and also with Jupiter being about laws, and Mercury retrograde being about kind of reviewing things, it could be reviewing a law, you know, with the government or a rule in one's house or a policy at work, and kind of pinpointing a policy or rule that is not fair for everyone or yourself, or others, and kind of taking the time to reevaluate that and maybe use some of that Mars energy to make it right and discuss with whomever you need to discuss the rule with to make it more fair. Yeah.
And we might be seeing this play out also in the collective, because Jupiter being also a social planet and Saturn both in Aquarius, the idea is to create this new policies that will be benefiting all of the collective, because it's Aquarius, right? So as Jupiter still moves through Aquarius, and Saturn is like creating new structures that are more beneficial for the collective. This is going to be pushing, all these negotiations might be pushing forward what will in the end benefit everybody. So either if it's at a personal level or a collective level. So we might be seeing this, maybe some new agreements might come up, like Dulcie said, or new policies that we might be seeing in the near future, especially when Mercury goes direct, and when Jupiter goes direct and Saturn goes direct and everybody's direct. That's when we're actually maybe going to see the policies actually come out. Right now is all the thinking process, the reviewing process. So we won't be seeing that until Mercury goes direct on October, is it 18th, I think? I already forgot.
The date.
I think it's October 18th when Mercury goes direct. Yeah, once that happens, we're gonna be seeing the actual fruits of those negotiations be set in motion. So let's be smart about how we negotiate and be graceful at this. So Venus will bring a lot of, I mean, because Libra is hosted by Venus, you know, we might see a lot of that relationship, you know, gunk come out, but only for the best. And that's what Jupiter brings. It's like, it's gonna be okay, you know, everything's gonna be fine, you know. Yeah. So
thanks, Jupiter.
Open expansion. And yeah, make sure not to be expanding the I mean, I don't think if this could apply, but again, I'm always cautious with this Mercury Pluto interaction as well, so that we're not expanding more like our obsessions with relationships either, because that could be part of it. Is like if we're already obsessed with a relationship or a topic or a theme, or needing to overpower something or be right, which is like a lot of that Mercury Pluto, like I'm right, I know, and I can manipulate the information the way I want to. So if we're already having those mental obsessions, and with Mars there in the mix, it could be very obsessive. I just want this, I want this, I want this. And Jupiter there might actually make it bigger. So if it's a good thing, like go for it, but with a grain of salt. Like I take it with a grain of salt, like with a little bit of caution, okay? Like make sure you're not going into some obsession that it's not really healthy, and certainly not out of desiring to manipulate something for your own personal gratification, because it might just not turn out right, for you in the end, in the long run. Maybe at first it will, but not in the long run. So
yeah, I see Mars often as, the amygdala is the part of the brain that's related to fear and emotions, negative emotions like that. So when the amygdala is activated, it kind of disconnects the connection between our emotions and our frontal lobes of, thinking through something. So when that is triggered and we're feeling kind of sensitive and afraid, or you know, worried or scared or sad, um, our immediate response is not always the most effective, and we're not always using our frontal lobes in those reactions. So I found with Mars, having a strong Mars in my chart, I take that time to not react right away and process and take all the time that I need in order to see it clearly, and then then perhaps have a more calm and harmonious response to the situation.
yes, absolutely. Yeah, well, that's basically, like, we've covered really all the aspects, because we did talk about new moon in Chiron and Mercury trining Jupiter.
Yeah.
So anything else? Like, do you have another slide, Dulcie, or
I have no more slides. That is the end of the slides.
end of the slide? So we do like to kind of mention a little bit that Venus, that is very soon going to conjunct the South Node.
Oh yeah, let's go back.
But we did talk about that in our October video. However, because this is very relationship charged, because Venus is the host of this new moon, it's all about relationships, really. Like, people, this is relationship. That South Node, it's also maybe things we used to value before, or beliefs we used to have before that we really hung on to, are kind of like, what are the things that you believe to be true about you or people or things or whatever, that you could probably just kind of let go and open your mind, Gemini, as the North Node, to maybe other possibilities, that things can be different, that you can value also different things. Maybe, there's things in your relationships, or what you value. It could be anything, whatever you value, especially when it comes to beliefs, because it's in Sagittarius, and or your dogmas, or your truth, or your religions, or your philosophies that you might be very, like, attached to. When Venus goes through it, it kind of asks for us to say, well, maybe we have valued things that are no longer, it's like when you go and you do a spring cleaning and see that old thing that you've been keeping in a drawer like forever, but it's like, oh, this was what so and so gave me a million years ago, but it's just taking up space and doing nothing. It's kind of like that. It's like getting those things out of the drawer to say, okay, yes, this is nice, but it's not adding any more value to my evolution. So it's just, time to ditch it. So anything in the Venusian realm, that is no longer serving you, and that can be relationships, like the way you handle money, the what else could be there, like Dulcie, with that Venus, especially because it's going to be in Sagittarius, but the conjunction is slowly beginning already, and Venus is still moving through that last degrees of Scorpio, and so I think there's a lot of, maybe I have the sense that a lot of drama related things as well that could be released, like how we do relationships that is more based on like pain or drama or manipulation, or any of that. And as it comes closer to the conjunction to the south, now we'll go into, okay, Venus moves into Sagittarius, where it's like, much more happy and expansive, it's no longer like but still, like, what are we releasing? What are we letting go? I think that's something that will be presented to us very clearly in these times as well, especially if you have anything around those degrees as well, or anything in this new moon chart that speaks to you, might be a seed for you to consider the whole month, basically. Themes that will like evolve as the month goes by. So Dulcie, is there anything you would like to add about that? And also make a little bullet point summary of the important things to consider this month?
Regarding the Venus, Venus will soon be conjunct the South Node. So just kind of, the South Node is related to loss and letting go, but it, as my teacher, Chucha Bhavadas, often says, it can come with spiritual growth. So we're kind of letting go of things that make us comfortable or feel secure and safe, but we're growing at the same time. So with Venus, we're kind of letting go of, creature comforts or even pretentiousness or, fancy things that might at the same time benefit others. So we're kind of letting go of certain things so that others can be more comfortable. We could see kind of loss of female figures as well, since it's Venus, but or perhaps like a loss that a female figure might experience.
And loss, maybe a friendship expires, some friendships might be expiring right now, or some friendships might be also brought up to be renegotiated, and maybe we're breaking up with somebody and then renegotiating the relationship type, right? Maybe we're no longer lovers, but we're going to be friends. Like, it could be anything, or female figures, like, it all goes. When it comes to astrology, it can be expressed in so many ways. It's more how you deal with the things, and when you know what's coming up, you can use your consciousness and your awareness to make the best choices, because you know that this is what's supported, what's difficult. And I think the key point is definitely this renegotiation aspect of things, and standing up for yourself and not manipulating others. Those are, for me, the 3 key points to create more harmonious, balanced relationships. I think so. Those are the 3 things. So with this being said, Dulcie, is there anything to add before we do the closing?
No, I think you summarized it all. Yeah.
So we invite you to please feel free to share, comment. We love seeing your comments, engage with the community, sign up for like our subscribe to our channel, to our Instagram. We'll leave all the links below. And if you would like a session with me, I am doing readings as well. And Dulcie will very, very soon launching her own practice in Hellenistic astrology as well. So, and we'll have more of that soon. But I'll leave the link below if you want an evolutionary astrology reading with me, or an archetypal astrology reading, or solar returns, or anything. And that's that.
And join us on Facebook if you do have Facebook, or Instagram. We post a lot on Instagram as well, but we post a lot of events that we're having, such as Astro Chats, where we get together online and we talk about the astrology of the time. We have Astro presenters. We invite a professional astrologer to come give a talk on a subject of their choice. And we are soon going to be doing a book giveaway based on the astrology of October. So anyone who wants to participate can choose a transit that's happening in October that they find interesting and do some sort of presentation on it. It can be, you know, it can be written, it can be a video, you can act it out, you can show images, however you want to creatively express it. And then share that on Facebook.
Where can they share it? So
Yeah.
people where to share it? Would they share it so they know where to share their presentation or their thing?
So definitely through the Facebook group, Astrology Victoria. If you join that, you can also email it to us at Astrology Victoria BC. No, what is it? Astrology Victoria BC
at gmail.com.
Thank you. Oh, what a Mercury retrograde. Oh my goodness.
If you don't have Facebook, if you don't have Facebook and for any reason, then yeah, you can email it to us and we'll review it, and then we're going to do this book giveaway at the end of the month of October. So stay tuned for when that's going to happen. What book are we giving away, Dulcie? How is that?
We'll have a selection. We'll choose some of the main core books of, you know, different forms of astrology. So it's not just one type of astrology, and you'll have your pick from that choice.
That's how we're doing this thing. So thank you, because that keeps people learning. It keeps this open and sharing. Last but not least, I was going to say one more thing that I forgot, but because I forgot it, it doesn't matter. So anyway, oh yes, we have our next Astro Chat on October 10th. And our Astro Chats, like Dulcie said, we invite people to join. We just talk about things. We maybe review a little bit of a chart or your chart or things you want to talk about. If you're a beginner, that's perfect. If you are a more advanced astrologer, that's perfect too. We want everybody to engage in the conversation of astrology, and that's why we do what we do at Astrology Victoria. So everybody's welcome. So please feel free to join and come to our Astro Chat on October 10th at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time. So we'll have more details on that on all our social media. So with this, we're signing off under the astral blanket.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Okay. Bye-bye, Dulcie. Bye.
Tatiana. Bye.
Your nice rituals. Bye.